Hi everybody, thank you for joining us here today. My name's Benjamin Atley, or Ben is a little bit easier. I'm the membership lead at an agency called Charl. My role specifically is heading up our membership service. What that means is we take merchants already existing on Shopify to further grow their platform and their website. I'll do a bit of a round of intros. Unfortunately today our guest speaker, Luke from RNLI Charity, could not make it here due to a cold that's going around. So we've got lovely Spencer that stepped in, but I'll let you do an intro.
Yep. Hi everyone, thanks for joining. As Ben said, my name is Spencer Maim. I'm the head of international partnerships at Attentive. For the folks that aren't familiar with us, we are an SMS marketing platform, and we're working with 8,000 brands globally in the retail and e-commerce, food and beverage, quick service restaurant space to turn SMS marketing into a top performing channel as quickly as possible. My role at the company specifically is I work with all of our technology partners, agency partners like Charl to really ensure that there's a seamless integration of SMS into your overall tech stack, and providing our agency partners with support to ensure success for customers when they're working alongside merchants to utilize the different digital channels at your disposal.
Thanks, Spencer. Andre, I know who you are, but please do an intro for the rest of us here.
Good morning, everyone. So I'm Andre. I am the new business manager at Charl Agency, so I work with the lovely Ben. So I manage the whole sales pipeline for the agency. I've been working in e-com the last 10 years, which makes me feel very old. Charl is the fourth agency that I've worked at. So yeah, I've got quite a lot of experience working with lots of different brands across a range of verticals, and yeah, looking forward to the discussion this morning.
Awesome, thanks Andre. So yeah, today guys, we're here to talk about that post-purchase experience for customers online. So I'll start with yourself, Spencer, if that's all right. Why should we consider a customer's post-purchase experience, and how does that help, generate revenue?
Yeah. So I think at least what we see in the merchants that we work with is the job starts actually at the purchase. Like, you don't want to be the brand that gets someone to convert, you don't touch them or talk to them for a couple weeks or a couple months, and then you send them a message or communicate with them saying, hey, buy again. Like, that's just not a good experience. You don't want it to be one-sided, and it's just a bad experience overall. So when someone makes a purchase, and especially from the optics of SMS, it's such a personal channel. It's virtually 100% open rate. Like, someone that has completed has shown high intent. So this is now the time when you want to thank them for their purchase, keep them engaged, drive better loyalty, use it as an opportunity to potentially cross-sell or have ways to think about using the product through tutorials or whatever it may be. So that's really why is like, you don't want to just stop when they make a purchase. So,
Yeah, 100%. And I guess Andre, from an agency perspective, what's sort of your take on this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's more important than ever for brands at the moment to keep customers engaged and to retain customers as well. So what we're seeing is lifetime value being an even more important metric at the moment, whereas previously, when I started in agency world, it was all about conversion rate. I mean, conversion rate is still obviously a super important metric, but we're seeing lifetime value as a much more important metric. And I think there's a few different reasons for that. I think one is that as consumers, we have choice paralysis. There are so many different options out there. We have brands constantly trying to tempt us with their products and services, and I think brands have just gone, we need to put so much more effort into actually retaining customers now, and how do we do that? It doesn't just stop at the point they buy from us. We want to make sure that that customer keeps buying from us, and lifetime value is definitely a metric that is much more important to brands and merchants now than it used to be.
Awesome. Yeah, 100% agree. Lifetime value, of course, it's that one thing I think merchants start out and don't really consider that long term until they're further in. We want to get a website live, but are we considering kind of what's happening months down the track? So yeah, thanks, Andre. And Spencer, from Attentive's point of view, have you got some key examples or metrics to share with some of our audience today? Some key examples or metrics for our audience today for what Attentive's doing and examples of what that looks like.
Yeah, definitely. So I think when it comes to actually engaging post-purchase, there's a lot at your disposal to utilize. What we're seeing on average for types of post-purchase communications, the click-through rates, and this is again across 9,000 brands, on average is 24%. So, when you think about that, and I came from the world of email, like if you got a 24% open rate on an email, that's an awesome email. So this is just click-through. And then when you follow that down, it's averaging out about 10% in conversion rates. So, and it doesn't have to be just, hey, continue to buy stuff. Like, you can get really creative with it. So asking brands to leave a review is huge. We're seeing a bump in reviews left when asked post-purchase by 18%. And that's huge, especially as over the duration and success of a merchant, because right now, for Gen Zs at least, over 60% of Gen Z read at least 3 reviews before actually making a purchase. So if you can pump up those numbers of real-time reviews from consumers that have purchased and experienced your product, then it's a great experience, and it's great for the acquisition component as well.
Awesome. And Andre, can you give any key examples, agency side, for what you see brands doing well outside of SMS? Maybe some other examples that worked.
Yeah, 100%. So I mean, obviously, things like subscriptions, super important. I think we see a lot of brands doing that now. Obviously, every business is not geared up for subscriptions. Products have to be suitable and relevant. Loyalty is obviously super key as well, and it has been for a long time. I think what we are seeing brands from an agency perspective is think about these things a lot more. I think previously it used to be a bit of a box ticking exercise, like we need a loyalty scheme, we need to have subscriptions, we need to trial SMS. But I think now brands are thinking, actually we need to link those things together and not have them as disparate things on the site. So yeah, those are all really important, I think. And yeah, obviously email is still important. Let's not disregard email. I think having a really good nurture program post-purchase is a really good idea. But again, it's thinking that through, planning out your campaigns. Automation, obviously with email, the likes of Klaviyo, being a Shopify agency and having Klaviyo natively built in for merchants is amazing. But it's thinking those automated flows through, thinking your post-purchase campaign emails through as well. But yeah, having a post-purchase strategy that is seamless and not just box ticking. We've got a loyalty scheme over here, but it doesn't actually interact with our SMS outgoing campaigns at all, and it doesn't really interact with our subscriptions. I think mapping that through, that journey, right from the purchase through to re-engagement and subsequent purchases is really important. So much so that, in fact, at Charl, we kind of launched a new service to support this for merchants, because especially over the last kind of year or so, we've seen LTV as a much more important metric. So we launched a service called Charl Retain, which is all about management of email campaigns with the likes of Klaviyo, SMS management as well, consultancy around subscriptions and loyalty as well. So yeah.
Yeah, and I guess just to talk a little bit further on that, would you say that there's necessarily a right or wrong time to reach out or touch points? And I guess this can go across to both of you, Spencer and Andre, but would you say that there is when is that good touch point, or when is a time that you should be reaching out to your merchants or to your customers? Yeah,
I mean, I think this is an interesting one, because what you don't want to do is really start to annoy your customers, literally the day after they purchase, you're hammering them, you're asking them for reviews, you're asking them to sign up to your loyalty scheme. I mean, those are important things to do. Recently on the Charl podcast, actually, we were speaking to the director of e-commerce from Pooch and Mutt, and they take a really interesting approach to this, which is we make sure that our customers can engage with us when they want to, but we don't force it down their throats. So the touch points are there every single contact they have with the customer, every single email that goes out. There's the ability for them to kind of leave a review, but they're not like hammering them every week going, leave a review and get a discount, refer a friend and get a discount. You know, it's much more thought through, because I think it does turn consumers off when like it's forced down their throat. Certainly it does for me. Like if a brand is absolutely hammering me on a weekly or even daily basis, I'm like, do you know what? I'm done. I'm gonna look elsewhere. So yeah, it's a fine balance. It does depend on the product as well. Like because some products are consumables. You need to do repeat orders. Maybe your frequency is going to be a bit higher than say like, I don't know, a TV or something, which hopefully you don't need to buy every month. So yeah, it does vary.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I mean, and this is where like the help of agencies like Charles come into play that have experience working across different types of different types of merchants, different types of products, to see and understand like that timing component of it, because you have a lot of channels at your disposal, like Andre was talking about with the email and SMS side of things, and you can get really creative and precise with it, because sometimes, like at least in my world, right, we focus on the SMS bit of it. You do want email and SMS to work together, right? Sometimes an SMS is more appropriate than an email, and vice versa. So you can almost offset those types of post-purchase comms in a way that's going to be more impactful, because sometimes like a good portion of your email base will be kind of like the lax purchaser, but if someone's giving you your phone number, that's high intent right there. Like they're willingly telling you, yeah, you can message me over SMS. So you can be really thoughtful and like, all right, once that purchase has happened, they received it, a week after they purchased it, here comes a text saying, use this tutorial on how to use this message, or leave us a review, etc. Which with an email, you can probably be a little bit more aggressive with it too. So being able to think through like how can you get the channels at your disposal to work in tandem allows you to be way more strategic in approaching customers once they actually make that purchase.
Cool. And just, I guess, to talk to Attentive and SMS, I'm sure we've got some merchants out in the audience today. I'm not going to get anyone to put their hand up because I know that you can get absolutely drilled if I tend to do that. But for some of our merchants that might be in the audience today, SMS, what's some great sort of top tips for how to target people with SMS?
From a post-purchase standpoint or just in general?
Give it to it all. Why not?
Okay. I mean, so for the folks that aren't familiar, like the first thing you got to do is get people to opt in. Like that's going to be the hardest thing. Is you need to get them, because you have to opt in twice in SMS, and that's kind of like our big focus. Is there's a seamless way of doing it. It requires you to just tap on your phone twice, and you're in. Once that consumer's in, you're good to go. So you don't want to overdo it, by no means. And you can be really creative with how you go about it, from like the actual welcome through to the purchase, and then the nurturing throughout. So the cadences can vary however you would like. We recommend, usually 4 to 6 messages a month, so you don't want to bombard them, and there's ways to throttle messages, so you're not getting, no one's getting 10 messages a week. But usually starting off a little bit slow, working with, the 4 to 6 content points throughout the month is usually a good way to think about working it in. And this is the gamut of like your automations, your one-off messages, your transactional messages that can go out.
Cool, thanks, Spencer. And Andre, can you talk to any sort of, I guess, specific strategies that within the agency and for our merchants that you can address?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think as an agency, again, it's kind of thinking about that end-to-end journey. So not just SMS as an isolated kind of campaign, but how that actually ties into the rest of your site strategy. So obviously, like Spencer said, you need to get people to opt in. I think what we see as well, SMS is obviously really developed in the US. It's like a really majorly developed channel. We are slowly catching up over here, but I think as British people, we're maybe a bit more mistrustful when a text message comes in, and we're kind of like, is this spam? But I think we're catching up now, and I think it's definitely something that we see brands trying out a lot more, and actually they're seeing massive success from it. But I think, yeah, in terms of strategy, it's just making sure that kind of ties into the rest of your on-site strategy and post-purchase strategy as well, to make sure you're not just hammering people with text messages and that's the only contact that they're getting from you as a brand after you've purchased. But yeah, SMS is an interesting one for sure. I mean, you can't argue with those open rates. Like Spencer said, if you got that sort of open rate or click-through rate, from an email campaign, you wouldn't believe those stats are real. So yeah, but obviously it is your more highly engaged customers that are going to be receiving those SMS messages as well. But yeah, it's an interesting one, and I think it's only going to develop further. I think we're going to see more and more brands start to explore SMS as a viable channel. So yeah.
Awesome. And I guess, Spencer, probably one for you more so, but how are you finding SMS in the UK versus sort of rest of the world? How are you tackling, those that aren't opting in, and how are you getting customers to really opt into SMS? Because I know it's a challenge in the UK. People get a text. I know I ignore quite a lot of text messages that tend to come through. I think it's quite spammy. So yeah, what are you guys doing to kind of tackle that?
Yeah, I mean, this is a really great question. So as you guys can probably tell by my voice, I'm not from the UK originally. But I had moved over a little over a year ago, been at Attentive for about 4 years, and like Andre was saying, like in the US, SMS is a fully adopted channel. And what we're seeing is where it is in the UK is about where it was in the US about a year and a half ago. So and we've been live here for 2 years, by the way, so we got 2 years of data we're working with. What was a big sigh of relief is all of the engagement rates that we're seeing, like click-through conversions, are actually holding par with the US. So the performance isn't dipping. It's just kind of like the maturity of the market. Like people are starting to opt in, consumers are getting a little bit more comfortable with it. And the folks that do want to hear from you over SMS will opt in. You're not going to get everyone, but if you can get a subscriber base of 20, 30, 40,000 people, that's a really, really good database, especially when you look at how those engagement rates scale out versus like a 3 or 4 million person email subscriber database. So from like an engagement standpoint, from a consumer standpoint, it's growing in a healthy rate.
Awesome, thanks. And I guess, Andre, in terms of like what you've touched on today, subscription, all these like post-purchase offerings and services, why do you think that's important? And especially now today, like what do you think merchants should be doing? And yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think as we've said, it's super important because people need to keep customers. It's super competitive in every single vertical at the moment. So there's constantly brands are trying to steal you away as a customer all the time. So I think focusing and having a post-purchase retention strategy is an essential now. It's as essential as having a checkout on your site, in my personal view. You need to keep people coming back to purchase more. But yeah, I mean, I think, again, it depends on the vertical. But I think there are a few things that we see, brands investing a lot more time in now than perhaps they used to. One is like returns. Super important. It used to be just like the fashion sector that was like super focused on returns. I think now every single vertical is like focused on returns. Make it as easy as possible for your customer to kind of return product, to get in touch with you if something's not right, because it doesn't always go right with e-commerce. We know that. Things aren't always going to go to plan. And if they don't, when they don't, because sometimes they won't, you need to make sure you have the processes in place to ensure that customer has a good experience. Because even when something negative happens, if you deal with it in the correct way, then you might keep that customer. They'll come back. It builds trust. So returns, super important. The other thing we really see is like creative packaging. It's all about packaging now. Like Spencer referred to Gen Z, like we want sustainable packaging. We don't want loads of plastic. I say we like I'm a Gen Zer. I'm absolutely not. I tried. But yeah, it's more important than ever to have like sustainable packaging, getting creative as well with packaging, like including free gifts, having like every single touch point for the customer is a way for you to kind of engage, even the packaging. So yeah, packaging something post-purchase that we see is really important. But yeah, like I've already mentioned as well, loyalty schemes, but having a well thought through loyalty scheme. Because what we see, brands are getting better at this now, but what we still see sometimes is like, we're just going to throw up a loyalty scheme and we'll, see how it goes. It's like, no, this actually needs some thought and it needs some strategy behind it. Like, how many points are you going to offer for for certain actions, like social follows, which social channels, like what are you going to offer for refer a friend, like how's that going to look on the front end? Like, there's so many considerations with a loyalty scheme. It's not just like throw it up there and see what happens. It needs a strategy. And subscriptions is the same actually, although like, you know, subscriptions platforms are fairly easy to set up, you know, particularly with Shopify. We've got the likes of Recharge and Skio. Easy to set up on the site, but actually like thinking through like frequency of product, how easy you're going to make it for customers to change their frequency, change product midway through, etc. It does need some thought behind it. So yeah, those are the things we're kind of seeing at the moment with brands.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much, Andre. Yeah, I agree. I think like that personalization as well, like post-purchase, again,
100%.
you know, it's one thing to get the product out the door and into your customers' laps. But again, what's that experience like post that? So, you know, returns. Look at someone like Loop, who's making that experience far better for customers. You know, we're not forgetting about them the minute our product's out the door. It's how that does come back. But yeah, I'm conscious of time. We've got 5 minutes to go. So I'll open up for any questions on the floor, should anyone want to ask.
Do you want the mic?
Thanks. Oh, sorry. Hi. Can you hear me? Yeah. My name is Olivia, and I work at the Whiskey Exchange. And I was wondering, in your personal opinions, because you're agency side and you work with thousands and thousands of brands, who do you think has the best post-purchase experience for customers without discounting?
Without discounting,
Yeah.
Did you say? That's a really good question. This is like when people ask me, what's your favorite website, being a web agency. It's really difficult. I mean, I guess one end-to-end experience that I've always loved, and it's probably a bit random, but that's AO.com. I think they are absolutely amazing, especially considering that it's probably quite infrequent purchases that they offer. So obviously it's like fridges, washing machines, white goods, etc. However, their post-purchase is really good, and every single touch point. I mean, their website is always
In what way? Like, what stands out for you? What makes you say that?
Yeah, so I mean, I think I last purchased from them like a couple of years ago. I bought a fridge freezer from them. I'm still in their nurture. They don't bother me like every single month, but I still get emails from them like, you know, every quarter, I guess. I still get texts. I think I had a text message recently as well saying everything okay with your product. So yeah, they do really well at that kind of post-purchase experience without shoving it down my throat. It's like, I bought this fridge 2 years ago. I don't need to hear from you every single week. So it seems like they understand who I am as a customer when I purchased, and have then therefore given me the appropriate touch points based on that. It's not a one-size-fits-all, and I think that's the key thing with post-purchase. It's like Ben said, personalization, understanding what I purchased, when I purchased it, and then tailoring the post-purchase comms based on that data.
Thank you.
All right.
I think just to add to that as well, I think it's the language as well that, you know, for your customers, not everyone's the same, and it's understanding the different demographics of your audience. So it's the way that you communicate through text and or through email or through, you know, whatever form of marketing, I suppose, but you're speaking the right language to that person. You know, it could be a change of words or that dialect or language, but I think that's quite key, because I know as someone in their probably 20s versus someone in their 50s, you're not going to have the same kind of language across customers.
Good question. Thanks.
Anyone else? Oh.
Hello, my name is Tristan. I'm part of Vocus, and I'm a web developer. I thought I'd just sort of put my consumer hat on for a moment, because when you were talking about SMS, there was one particular message that I get every week on my phone that tempts me every single time. So I thought, just for the benefit of everyone, I'll talk a little bit about that, and maybe if you've got any thoughts as well on it. Now, I won't mention my favorite pizza brand, but on Fridays, there is a particular SMS that I do get where they will talk about the deals that you can get that week. And it's not like I'm going to be checking my email inbox for that. I want it ready, I want it on my phone and telling me straight away, this is what you need to get this week. So I think if you've got a product that is time sensitive, or if you have an event that's time sensitive, SMS can really work for you, especially in getting those consumers to be a bit more impulsive. So yeah, that was sort of my little story. I'm wondering if you've had any other sort of similar things where you've had a product that's time sensitive or an event that's time sensitive that consumers need to know straight away about.
Yeah, I'm happy to pick up that one. Yeah, I think it's great talking food, right? On a Friday night, we're probably a bit lazy. We've had a long week. We don't want to cook. It's perfect. We jump on and we go, great. Here's some deals. That touch point. It's a perfect time, perfect day of the week to get in. Same with, beverages. If I'm ahead of the weekend, have I got the stock? Am I good to go for the whatever I've got going on this weekend? So maybe a Thursday, Friday night, preempting that to go touch point, right time for your audience. But I think another really good experience is, and where I've seen it work well, is on delivery itself, where you can offer quick and fast delivery, right? If I know that I can order something and it be delivered within the hour or two, and I've seen that work really well, especially on occasions, Valentine's, people know that they can post some marketing out and go, if you haven't got a gift, we can get it to your door within an hour if you're within a certain radius of London. I know works really well on conversions. Yeah, that's some examples from me. But
yeah, I actually, your example is good, and it's actually kind of funny. The said pizza restaurant, I actually grew up 15 minutes away from the headquarters back in the US, if I'm thinking of the one I'm probably thinking of. But this example is really important to why timing and working your loyalty into the equation can be really impactful. Here's an example. There's a jewelry brand, Missoma. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with them or not. I really like them. I have a sister, a girlfriend, a mother, and this past Christmas, right when December came around, I got a message and it was new necklaces, and I was like, my mom would love that. Bam, buy, done. It was timing, instantaneous, and now that brand, I'm in their loyalty program. I get notified when birthdays are coming up, and I'm a sucker for it. I've bought a lot of things from them because it's they hit me, they somehow know when the timing's right, and I buy almost immediately.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's about having those intelligent triggers. I think that's the key thing, isn't it? It's not just kind of spamming people randomly at random points. It's product-based, as you say, but also time-based and based on certain triggers. So one thing we haven't spoken about is abandoned baskets. Now, obviously, that's a key one as well. Tempting people back to complete their basket via SMS rather than the standard email. So yeah, for me, it's all about having those intelligent triggers. But I also get those said pizza brand texts on a Friday, and I absolutely take advantage of them. So yeah, great question.
Awesome. I think that's our time. But Andre, Spencer, thank you so much. And again, thanks everyone for joining us here today.
Thanks.
Thank you.